This one is for all of you fans of small growing Echeveria. Today we are going to talk about one super cute succulent plant, Echeveria halbingeri. I am not 100% sure as to the pronunciation and have heard both halbingeri and halbingeri. I'll go with the latter. This lovely little Echeveria is native to Mexico. It is one of my favorites to grow as it is reasonably hardy and not your typical drama queen Echeveria. Echeveria can be a bit challenging, though this one I would recommend to beginners. Echeveria halbingeri has a clumping habit. The little rosettes grow close together, forming clusters of about 12 cm depending on how much root space they have. Individual rosettes only grow to about 6 cm. Height-wise, the rosettes have a stemless appearance and only reach about a couple of centimeters. The leaves are tiny with a pointy tip. They are also quite chunky, which makes the whole appearance very compact. All of the leaves are coated in a dusty substance called the farina. Farina is like a sunscreen for succulents and protects the plant from sunburn and also helps with repelling excess water and cleaning the leaf surface. The color is mostly silvery blue or green with a hint of pink, though it can change throughout the year. Seasons, temperatures, size of the pot, watering regime and other things can all influence the intensity of color. During winter or when the plant is stressed, the pink will become brighter and usually spreads through the most of the leaf. This succulent will grow best outdoors in a bright sunny spot. It does tolerate outdoor shade and filtered light but is likely to be green. It can grow leggy and stretched as a result. Fungal diseases are also more likely to attack when succulents, especially Echeveria, are grown in shaded spots that are often more humid. Although halbingeri is not as susceptible to fungal disease as many other Echeveria I've grown, it is best to stay on the safe side. Personally, I would not recommend growing it indoors as it's very likely it will not survive unless you have a big sunny window, a sunroom or plant growing lights. It should, however, tolerate overwintering and short stays indoors as long as it's kept in a super bright spot. It can be grown in pots outdoors as well as frost-free gardens. If grown in pots, repotting every year or so will ensure lots of offsets and a happy plant. It does tolerate being root bound, but there may not be as many offsets, some of the bottom leaves are likely to die off and the plant may cease to grow. If you only get light frosts and no snow during winter, you can grow this succulent in the garden. Because it's tiny and grows low to the ground, the best position in the garden would be around the edges where it cannot get overgrown by other plants. Bigger, more vigorous neighbors can easily smother it or cast a shadow that will cause leggy growth. When growing in the ground, you can help it establish by mixing any type of potting mix with the garden soil. The roots are quite thin and can find it difficult to break through hard dirt. By cultivating and mixing in a bit of potting mix, you'll add nutrients and improve the soil structure, making it easier for the plant to establish. When growing succulents in the garden, it's best to choose a slope, raised beds or a spot where water doesn't pool after the rain. In pots, halbingeri will thrive on good quality succulent potting mix. Succulent potting mix will have the right pH and nutrients tailored to succulent plants. As we discussed earlier, when growing in the garden, it's best to cultivate the soil by mixing in a bit of potting mix. All my little halbingeris live outdoors all year round in my nursery even when it rains a lot. But for them to survive the rain, they need to be planted in well-draining potting mix and in a sunny spot. If your climate is quite wet and humid or tropical, it may be best to bring it under cover when it rains heavily or keep it in a ventilated greenhouse. If you're ever worried, it's always best to err on the side of caution and bring succulents, especially Echeveria, under cover during rainy periods. During dry weather or when growing under cover, allow the potting mix to dry out between waterings. In summer, this could mean watering a few times per week and almost not at all during the cold months. Halbingeri is drought tolerant and thanks to those chunky leaves can survive without water for months. But in my opinion, it should not be left too dry for too long as it may start losing leaves. Temperature wise, it will tolerate heat well over 40 degrees Celsius, though it should be moved out of the sun once it gets this hot. If exposed to direct sun during extreme heat waves, the leaves can suffer sunburn and the plant could die, especially when planted in dark-colored pots. Halbingeri is not very frost hardy. It can get frostburns and even die when temperatures drop a few degrees below the freezing point for too long. If you only get the occasional frost, use frost cloth to protect your succulents. During deeper frost or snow, bring this plant indoors for the duration. Halbingeri is super easy to propagate and a novice should be able to grow it from offsets and leaves. If you want fast results, propagating offsets is the best method. The pups usually grow long stalks and you can just pull them away. Many will already have roots, which will help with getting them established. The only thing you need to do is make sure the offsets are big enough, as the really tiny ones may have trouble establishing. Cuttings should be left to dry for about 24 hours before planting. This will give the wound a chance to heal and prevent harmful organisms from getting in. Once the wound is dried, they can then be planted into pots filled with succulent potting mix and transplanted into the garden or a bigger pot once enough roots develop. New roots should start growing in 2 to 4 weeks and the plant will be ready to transplant in approximately 2 to 3 months. If you want to grow loads, leaves can be propagated and have very good success rate. They should be easy enough to separate. Do not try to break them, as this often causes the leaf to die. Start at the bottom. If you're finding it hard to access the leaves, pull the plant out of its pot. After separating a few, leave the leaves in a tray in a dry, sheltered but bright spot. Once you get new growth, plant the leaves in trays or pots filled with succulent potting mix and wait a few months until the roots have grown well into the pot. If you'd like a more detailed how-to on propagating Echeveria, I have a video dedicated to just that, which I'll link in the description and at the end of this video. In my experience, propagating is best done in spring. Summer is usually also good, but be careful to protect your cuttings and leaves from strong sun, as they burn easily. In climates where autumn and winter are mild, you can also propagate cuttings at the beginning of autumn. Personally, I stop propagating leaves by early to mid-summer, so the plant has a chance to develop before winter. Leaves that are not yet developed are also more prone to dying if exposed to direct hot summer sun. Personally, I don't have a lot of pest issues when it comes to halbingeri. Aphids do attack the flowers, but it doesn't seem to be one of the favorites for other pests. Aphids are most common when inflorescences start to appear and can sometimes spread to the rosette and the pups. They spread fast and should be eradicated immediately after you spot them. Pyrethrum spray works very well for these little buggers. While it's not one of the favorites when it comes to mealies either, I do find them every now and again, but not very often. Watch out for any white streaks, cottony sacs or malformed growth. Root mealybugs love root-bound plants and can go undetected as they live in the soil. I'd advise to check the roots at least once every growing season. Bigger pests such as snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers can sometimes attack too. If larger chunks go missing, they are likely to be the culprit. The inflorescence on this plant is very pretty and typical of Echeveria. Flowers grow on a tall-ish stems above the foliage, forming an arch. More than one stem can grow simultaneously. About 6 pink and orange flowers can grow out of one stalk. Halbingeri usually flowers throughout the summer months, but this can depend on your location. All Echeveria are said to be non-toxic and safe for humans, dogs, cats, other pets and livestock. However, I would not advise eating them just in case. And that's it for today. I hope this video was useful. If you have anything to add, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to our website succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you so very much for watching.